Hi, everybody.
Hey everyone,
These losers are still in my basement.
we didn't leave.
Yeah, we've been here since last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was too.
It's
I was
been
too
rough.
sick. I was on the couch back there.
Yeah.
So, welcome to Top Deck Heroes. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien, your main host. Matt Hughes and Kevin Broberg, our side hosts. You take them to the Olive Garden. Main hosts go to Red Lobster.
Yeah. Although who brings them? I thought the main host is the one bringing us places, buying us dinner.
I don't even know. Okay, so let's talk about some news. Hughes, bring up the schedule.
Oh, you need the schedule?
I need the
You don't
schedule.
remember things?
I don't have it memorized.
I need a third screen.
So we've got a lot of spoilers to talk about in the intervening 2 weeks. I can't remember if that's the first thing or not.
Our first item on the news is the Rochester CCG 2K. That is happening 2 weeks from this Saturday. Now, that's going to be at the Level Up Expo in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. And for those of you who are going, remember we are going to be giving out the special playmat, which is kind of behind us today, the Booty Booty Butt Cheek Summer Heat playmat. We will also be giving out an exclusive promo card. Hughes, do you want to cue that up for us?
Yep. Ta-da!
Nightman! We spoiled him a couple of weeks ago on the show, so going to be exclusive just to that event. Unfortunately, he won't be legal till Battle for Power comes out, which we don't know when that's coming out. That might come out for the sometime for the 10-year anniversary of JASCO games and UFS and whatnot.
And A Man Can Dream, right?
A Man
and in the
Can Dream.
meantime, you can play him casually. He's a lot of fun.
He is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see the rest of his support. So that's our big bit of news. I know we've got a PTC coming up this weekend out in Omaha, Nebraska. Good luck to folks out there. Someone will probably overtake Kevin Broberg this weekend in the Player of the Year race because he hasn't been to any events in like 3 months.
Most likely, I'm sad to say. Well, heavy is the head that wears the crown, so it'll be a relief to get that off.
Well, hopefully this doesn't end up like Games of Thrones and where your head becomes too heavy and it gets chopped off.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to spoilers because that's our big item for news this week.
Alright.
Yeah, we've been having, the JASCO game spoilers 1 to 2 every day and bonuses today, apparently, thanks to
Joe
our
Hill.
friend Joe Hill over in the UK.
That was an awesome video with him talking about it. Even if you get to see the spoilers here, go check out his video. It's Josepher on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got some good analysis and great production values.
Much better than us.
Yeah, it seemed real
he's-
fancy.
He's in no basements. Or maybe he is in a basement, but it's a much nicer basement.
It's definitely a basement with a white wall.
His camera costs more than $20 also. He probably has at least an extra zero on it.
I mean, he probably paid at least $20 for the lighting in there, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our first spoil card.
Elagor!
Elagor! Let's see. For those of you listening at home, he is a character card, 6/6 like normal with a +0 mid block. I'm disappointed by the lack of stacking characters that we've seen so far.
Hey,
Also OP.
they got to save something for the advanced products, Sean.
So he has all good in order. So he's got Michigan symbols. E, if your opponent's attack deals damage, your first attack next turn gets +2 speed and +2 damage. R commit, after your opponent's unblocked attack resolves, play a reversal.
Yes, this character, I mean, he kind of says it on the tin, play reversals with me. Hit them, and don't block, and then just smash them in the face with 3 reversals, and then have a giant attack on your turn after they get softened up by that reversal.
And in a weird messed up land where your opponent reversals you and deals damage, your reversal next turn will get +2 damage and +2 speed.
That's exciting.
So that's pretty exciting. Unfortunately, Michigan symbols probably isn't appropriate because I hear they don't even play out there anymore, except for the very sexy and sensual Mark Wisniewski and Stefan Jones and Marcus Singleton. His last name. I wanted to call him the other Marcus from California. So
No.
Marvelverse is pretty popular.
So, yeah, this character is pretty much strictly better than Jeremy Ray in every way. So, next.
I mean, the one quick thing I want to point out is his response doesn't actually work quite with cards that say play as reversal.
Yeah, so he doesn't set up things
Like his
Skullbreaker,
foundation we're going to
like
do.
we're going to see in a moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That asks you to have played an attack as a reversal. This is just playing a reversal,
Yep.
which is playing an attack under normal condition. Basically, it's just a normal attack that happens to be played during your opponent's turn and has to have the reversal keyword.
Imagine if Kaplow were still legal.
Huh.
Oh, Kaplow. Good times.
All right, next card. his Red Lion Crest. It's a 2/5 asset for Eligor, so it has his symbols all good in order. It's a unique with no block. When you have
Surprise, no
if
block.
you have more than 10 foundations, destroy this asset. First E commit. If this is your first attack this turn, its damage and speed cannot be reduced by effects. That's crazy. E remove. If this attack is not blocked, change its damage to 4. Only playable while committed.
So, I gotta say, I'm surprised they went back with this first attack of the turn thing. We just had that with J. Talbane, and he sucked.
Well, it's not just like J. Talbane's thing was that he wanted to attack you exactly once each turn, or maybe like hit you and then follow up a little bit, but his attacks couldn't scale up any larger.
Mhm.
And this card, this card really shores up a hole in Eligor's game plan, where people who just want to play cards like Champion of Muay Thai, Getting a Ride, Balanced Fighter, his ability really makes you jump through a hoop for that giant speed bonus. And those cards are built for people who don't have jump through giant hoops for the speed bonus. This card kind of protects him from that sort of thing. It could be very powerful as a one-shot kill kind of card in a character, or in a deck that contains a lot of Mega Man's cards that just offer big damage bumps.
True. I mean, the first E is still vulnerable to things like Revoke and the whatnot.
Mhm.
I mean, you're going to want to save a Revoke for this, otherwise you might be blocking something really, really big.
At the very least, if they don't have the actual speed and damage reduction effects on board and they're relying on Revoke, you just baited out the Revoke.
Yeah, it is a first E, so you don't have to dump anything into your attack before you find out whether or not it's
True.
going to be irreducible.
Now, my question is, and I don't remember from the new AGR, I'm going to have to brush up on it before I go to Las Vegas. Let's say there was a card like Law of the Land still legal, which I believe it's banned. Return this attack to printed damage. Would something that returns it beat something that says it can't be reduced?
I believe that if it can't be reduced, then return doesn't touch it. I think that Switch currently just isn't really in the rule book, and so you might be able to argue with a judge that Switch works. But
so
if
I deceptive look it, it's good.
Well, so if you use
Switch-
traditional garb, you might be okay.
I think we actually looked up stuff for traditional garb a couple weeks back, and there was something in it for the rules. It was a bit awkward and wasn't actually labeled Switch, but basically anything.
Curious.
I think there was something in the labeled
Any
step
case.
for for figuring out damage, where if something caused the value to change in some way for reducing it, even if it was a return effect or whatnot, it still counts as reducing.
Cool, that's a change from the old days.
Yeah.
Because they used to be separate and distinct things.
I could be wrong because this was at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I was helping the UK group.
So, the worst thing about this card is it doesn't have a block.
The worst thing about this card is that it's an asset that destroys itself for no gain if if you have to get in a board cell with your opponent. In my book.
Well, I
I-
if you get stuck, if your opponent reversals you with like a Nivose, I'd be really happy to have that E remove
Yeah,
effect.
the E remove effect is quite good, but
It's got to be tapped for you to use it though.
well, you can always
Okay.
just tap it first E on your opponent's
Yeah, I
attack.
know.
Yeah. Your opponent's like, for the rest of the enhanced step, first E Red Lion Crest.
Yeah, I think you put this in your deck because you want to use that first E to protect your attack, and then the other stuff it's got going on, like not having a block isn't that bad because it does have a damage reduction effect. So you just play it out of your hand and
That's
get
true.
it on board.
I don't like it static either. I think they're going a little hard on this whole 10 foundations thing.
I think it's better than the other cards we've seen so far because I'd rather have cards designed to reward me for staying under with 2 reasonably powerful effects than have Punisher cards that everyone's just going to build decks and play around anyways.
Fair enough.
So you get to play around those Punishers and get rewarded for it.
All I know is at this point, I have no intentions of changing my play style for 10 or less. Just doesn't seem
Yeah, you
powerful
can just
enough.
not play this card is I think a very valid option with it.
On to the next.
Moving on.
Udstad. Can I say this card? Because she's one of my favorite characters.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
It still doesn't have a block.
Yeah, it's a 2/5, no block. It's got Air All in Order. This is for, I believe, the only other character we haven't seen. No, because we haven't seen Cherry either. But it's for a character from a BattleCon called Runica. She's going to be the supposed other character with Eligor. It's a unique asset with, again, no block, like they said. E-commit, your non-throw attack gets +4 damage And -4 speed. That's different from what I saw before. I thought that was a plus.
Ha ha. Yeah, no. Get out of here.
Okay, that seems a lot more fair now. E remove. This high or low attack gets -4 damage, minimum 4. Only playable while committed.
Yep, so just like the last one, this is another card with an only playable while committed ability that kind of just means you have to commit it on your opponent's attack in the worst case.
Mm-hmm.
Because it only the speed and the speed changing things, speed and damage changing things only apply to your attacks. You can't like do the powerful assassin thing where you reduce the speed of your opponent's attack and then fully block and don't care about it at all. But you can then do the other ability. I think this is really cool. It's just like the last one where it doesn't have a block, but then it has damage reduction instead, so you just spam it out. And then the first ability works really well if you're going to try to run your opponent out of cards or give your attacks throw after you play the ability.
Hi, Raiden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Raiden's gonna love this card.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have an
The
answer.
minimum 4 on that, does that mean the lowest you can bring it is to 4 damage with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The result of the ability, which says minimum 4, is that the value specified can only reach the number 4. It can't go any lower.
Right.
Okay.
Just like if with a girl like any other, minimum 0 refers to 0 speed being the minimum value can become, not you get a minimum of 0 minus speed.
Yeah, and this had to get spelled out pretty clearly to deal with final betrayal, which can only reduce people to 1 vitality, can't kill them.
Yep.
And so it said minimum 1.
Training wheels.
This card's neat. I want to see more of Runica's stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad that we read this out loud because I had no idea that it was minimum 4 for the damage reduction. So that's
Yeah.
actually a bit less potent than I thought it was.
Yeah, this card got a little bit worse, but her other card's still really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's another card that it's kind of funny that it works against itself so well because people have big attacks and this card just sits on board and protects you from the big attacks. Makes people have to spam out a little more.
Clearly, it's just going to be Runica versus Runica matchups.
Yeah, man. I mean, why play anything else when you've got air all order? I mean, those are just great symbols.
All right, next
well,
card.
one great symbol.
And, we're going back to Eligor. Chainblade. It's a attack that's 3 difficulty, 3 check, no block again.
No block.
Got a pattern here.
This card doesn't need a block.
It's a 4-mid for 4. Ranged, reversal, and weapon. Plenty of keywords. E, if you've been dealt damage this turn, this attack gets +2 damage.
I can't wait to play this in Mega Man 2 Dot.
Yeah.
I'm going to partial block something, then I'm going to play this as a reversal. I'm going to give it stun 2 and a bunch of damage.
This is going to be a stun 2, 10 damage move on your opponent's turn.
And I'll just point out that it has the magic 2 keywords for Blizzard Sword Mayhem,
Yep.
where you
Yep.
play it with all of your ranged support cards, and it gets pumped by them, and it also just has weapons so that you can stun 2 of them after Blizzard Sword.
Do you know who else is going to like this card?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Swordman.
But who isn't?
Swordman's going to like this
Swordman's
card.
gonna
Like,
love this
reversal and ranged and weapon are just 2 insane keywords to put on anything.
Well, they got a lot. The good and order symbols both have a ton of cards that care about ranged and weapons, and a lot of those cards just haven't seen a lot of success. And so I'm excited to see if we finally will see one.
Yep.
Another thing this has going for it is, as Rio Gopal reminded us at the UK PTC, you can blue bomber into this for even more absurdity damage.
Yeah, you're going to really want to block this if they blue bomber their attack before it.
Yeah, it's got a decent force. It's a mid attack, so the force speed is really kind of the minimum of what you want to be at there. Running into Templar, even on a reversal and not having too many foundations, you just feel stupid.
I also like that it's 3 difficulty. Those
Yeah.
are big numbers for
Yeah.
a 3 difficulty attack.
This is really nice to just hit someone with, like, you have to plan ahead, obviously, that you're going to only block however, like, this isn't going to be a block in your hand, it's only going to be a reversal.
Mhm.
And so it makes your decision a little bit easier if you're going to play it as a reversal or not. It just says, I'm done blocking now, okay, here you go. And you get some pretty good damage out of it for not a lot of control checks.
Alright, next card. The Udstad Beam.
The art is so bad.
I don't even know who that artist is.
So, can I call this card Bad Plasma Beam? Is that being too prejudicial?
Bad plasma beam instead of high
Because
plasma beam.
this seems like a very strong shout out to an old card, High Plasma Beam, which was a 4 difficulty, 3 speed high for 3, +1 high block, 3 check range attack with an enhance that commits 1 foundation and then counts foundations for damage.
This-
Let's read this off before we actually
Yeah.
keep talking
So
about it. Sorry.
all those same things, except it gets +1 damage for each of your ready foundations, only playable if you have 10 or fewer foundations.
So the max it can get to is 13 damage.
on its own.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's-
on
yeah.
its own. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to commit. You have to have exactly 10 foundations. They're all ready, and you commit your character after playing this to get to get the full plus 10. And that's a printed 13 damage attack, even with a lot of hoops to jump through. You got to respect that.
Mhm.
Especially if you put it in rated, make it a throw.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's ranged. So then after you make it 13, you make it a throw, make it 13, then you tap your board.
Yep.
And you pray they don't have leaf shield.
Where you really want to be with this card is abilities that let you destroy foundations, so that you can commit some of them to pay for costs over the course of your turn, then throw them away to get down to exactly 10,
Mhm.
and then that's kind of just how you maximize it. You don't really need to do that even.
Mhm.
Even just playing this card, having have 6 or 7 foundations in your staging area, getting to the end of your attack string, only having like 4 or 5 left ready. You commit 1, you get +5 damage. That's a respectable card. You can just if you just look at this as a 5 difficulty attack that starts off at whatever damage you like. It starts at 3 plus the number of ready foundations you have left over. That's pretty solid.
And it's the first card we've spoiled tonight, aside from the character, that does roll a block, and a pretty good block at that.
Yeah.
+1 high.
Like I think that +1 high, plus those symbols, is going to make this one of the all-star cards of the new set.
I mean, I think it's still going to have to compete against Blizzard Sword.
Oh yeah.
It's still going to have to compete with Zing.
Well, I think it complements them well. It has an excellent block.
Mhm.
Although it is in a high zone, it's relatively slow. That's kind of issues for the card. And I know there's been a bit of a vigorous debate about how good this card is at all, because people it's easy to read this card as the best case and say, well, yeah, I'll have 10 foundations, I'll do 13 damage move right there, but then they'll just block it, and so you have to judge how well this is going to work in actual real game situations. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how much play this actually gets.
Moving on.
Student of the Grand Chronicle.
Why don't I read it, because my
Yep.
vision's better than yours. This is a 2/5 foundation with a +3 mid block, with all good and order Michigan symbols. E-commit.
It's Mega Man 2.
E-commit, your attack played as a reversal gets +1 damage, +1 speed, and stun 1. After destroy, if your opponent has more than 10 foundations, commit one of their foundations. Overall, I like this card. It's going to be really good for playing your reversals on your opponent's turn. I want to have like 4 of these out and be playing Mega Man and reversal with the card we seen 2 cards ago. So now it's like a stun 6. That's the best case scenario.
And also reversing with Kersplat.
Yeah,
And you play this in
any card with a reversal keyword is just swell with this card. It's too bad that doesn't have the life symbol, but it does, because the life symbol has 2 cards that work somewhat similar to this, where you reversal them and you get stuns for every copy of it, with Quick and Precise and Young Mercenary.
I mean, Quick and Precise does have all, though.
But it does overlap on one symbol with each of those, so now more decks get to play the throw my board at you, stun you out game on reversals.
See, it's a damn shame this card doesn't have the air symbol to make my Nevosas even betterer.
Hey, so Sean, the solution to that is that you play an all-symbol Joe deck. You
Mhm.
block with Templar, and then you reversal with Nevos, and you commit all these things to stun 1 them. And stun is amazing with Nevos. I don't know if you realize that.
I've heard it's pretty good, especially when you have multiple instances of stun.
Yeah, and you can even use Joe's ability to discard one of the cards from the card pool, and then untap a card that gives your attack stun.
Yay! Yeah, I like this card. I think it's a good card.
I really like it. The only tiniest problem I have, and it's more to do with Elgor, the character card himself, about how if he has more cards like this where attack played as a reversal,
It's feel bads for sure.
yeah, it's very counterintuitive. So if you're trying to teach new players that really like Elgor, and you're trying to teach them with the Elgor deck, you have to explain, well, that doesn't quite work.
Yeah, played as reversal means that you played it using specifically the keyword, not because of its keyword being there.
Yeah.
So after you blocked, basically.
Next,
Rocket Press!
Rocket Press. This is a 4 difficulty, 2 control check attack. 0 mid for 5 with Earth, Fire, and Void. It's a punch, and it says, eat your opponent pitches a card. It's been a long time since we've had cards that straight up just discard your opponent's cards. We just got out of a block where pretty much every discard effect was your opponent pitches one and then draws one. Or pitches one at random and draws one. So it's been a minute since we've had just straight up your opponent
Yeah.
pitches a card. Since
Silent Assassin was the last thing, really.
Silent Assassin and Ben Shoemaker.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this card's been super fair up until now. And it kind of still is. It's 0 mid for 5. But my big buddy Raiden's going to really love this card
With Surveyor.
with Surveyor every turn.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine. I mean, Earth's bad, so don't worry about it.
Earth needs all the help it can get.
It's one thing we forgot to point out. It has slightly extended art by not having a block.
Oh yeah, no block!
Hey,
Yay!
this is the kind of card I don't want to have blocks.
It should
because
not have
It
a
should
block.
not have a block.
If you can just stack these up in your hand and holding up defense, and then just like, here's 5 damage, and you have to discard cards, and now here's 5 more damage and 5 more damage. You have no hand left, and I can go crazy on
I
you.
kill you.
Yeah,
There's
no
just
good.
since we keep on poking at blocks, can I just talk about it a little bit?
Nope.
Oh,
Veto.
okay. This card's solid. Next card.
Yep.
Rocket powered.
I love that show. It's a 2/5 foundation with a +3 high block with Earth, Fire, and Void. R, your turn flip. After you play an attack, if your opponent has 3 or more cards in their hand, it gets +3 speed. Now, this is the kind of wallbuster card I can get behind. Your opponent's stacked up on Templars, 3 speed,
Your opponent blocked with the Templar and then got up to 3 afterward.
3
Plus 3
speed.
It's neat.
It's,
I like it has a block.
It's a high zone block.
This card's pretty solid.
It's-
Like you have to pay attention to these kind of cards where it lets you exchange resources in a kind of unique way. Because this costs 0 foundations when you're just saying how many foundations will I have to pass control checks. And it exchanges for up to 3 of your opponent's foundations because they have to block a 3-speed faster attack. And that's potentially a very profitable exchange.
This is also, it has one of my favorite arts by Fabio Fontes. Like, it's supposed to be like an alternate art cadenza. This looks awesome.
It's the robot.
I gotta say, this card does not seem to work very well with Cadenza or with the
Nope.
previous card.
Nope.
But it's cool, even if it's a little out of... Maybe Alternate Art Cadenza has a different playstyle.
I mean,
That makes sense.
Cadenza 2 dot has a different playstyle.
to be fair, these are cards that are mixed in with Hikaru. So it's got to play well when you're playing with him as well.
Oh, Lord, this is gross in Hikaru.
Yeah.
Here's Stun a Million. And, it's too fast for you to block now.
Yeah.
Taste it.
Yeah, have fun. Next.
Psychedelic Dream World. It's a 5/3 foundation with no block.
No block.
It's got life,
Blocks.
order, and void. So cherry symbols. The other character in the Kadath deck. First F remove. Both players search for their deck for 1 card and add it to your hand, then discard 1 random card.
Now, it should be important to note that in the rules, you do have to shuffle your deck automatically anytime you search your deck.
Yep.
Before anybody asks, oh, do I have to shuffle my deck?
So this is a unique card. We certainly haven't seen any cards that force your opponent to shuffle their deck before.
This
It's
isn't a
marginally
unique card.
better.
It doesn't have unique. I could play 4 copies of it.
So this is a unique card, and we've never seen a card quite like it before. It is certainly not the return of Gyarados Leadership, although I think it's inspired a little bit by that old card, which let you kind of do this thing every turn for a commit cost at a similar cost of 6 difficulty 3 control.
Mm-hmm.
This is, although it is symmetrical, it is very asymmetrical in practice because you always have your entire hand size in your hand at this point, at the start of your turn. Your opponent has much less than that, so they're much more likely to discard the card they search for, which might be a card like Templar, or it might just be an attack with a nice block. Who knows?
But if I'm playing against Giggles, he'll get to keep his card, and me playing Jiffany, I'll lose the card I
No,
drew before.
what it'll actually do with Giggles is that he'll already have the perfect card in his hand. He'll search for a second copy, and then discard the one he searched for.
The art is interesting on this.
It's
psychedelic.
it's dreamy.
It's got
Yeah.
an Easter Island head wearing a Santa Claus hat.
Yeah.
For those of you at home who aren't watching and just listening.
It's got sunshine and rainbows. I'll
Like-
give you that.
It's a cool art, but it's definitely weird.
Well, it is psychedelic.
Like,
Have you never tried ecstasy?
no.
This is everything about this card is pretty weird. From a 3 control foundation to
5 difficulty.
symmetric random discard to the art to the lack of a block to the symbols even maybe not really, but I think it's the first card we've seen with these symbols in some time.
The last thing we saw was Spirit Form and Soul Gaze, which was last
Oh, you're
week.
right. Wait. Okay, you're right. You're right.
I know the Battlecon characters.
All right.
Just a wee bit. Next card.
Next,
Tatsumi.
Tatsumi.
Panda.
Character 6/6, +0 mid block, 7 hand size, 20 vitality. Chaos, fire, and water. First E, destroy a foundation. This attack gets +1 damage and +1 speed. Choose one of your opponent's committed foundations. That attack does not ready during the next ready
That
step.
foundation doesn't ready.
That foundation, sorry.
Not that attack.
I mean,
Well, the attack won't ready either.
if it goes to your momentum committed, it might not ready. At any rate, its foundation does not ready during the next ready step. So, I have to admit, gentlemen, I was extremely underwhelmed by this character. Because, we did just get out of a block where 7-handers had super free abilities.
She certainly has a cause.
This one has a super cost to it. And I just don't feel like for the price of a foundation, unless you're playing the 10 foundations game, losing a foundation for only 1 speed and damage, and freezing one of your opponents, they just don't match up as what I think is value.
Yeah, the big question for this character, and it's going to be a big question, is how well does she work with other cards? Because on her own, she's a little underwhelming. I think you can it's easy to reason by analogy. And recently, we had a character named Tim Keefe who shared 2 symbols and a very similar enhance that was destroy foundation, 1 speed, 1 damage, and a first E. But its effect was much, much bigger than this, and it also had a second. He had a second ability on his character.
Yeah, because he had Snake Man for his second ability.
Yeah,
Snake Man
at
response.
the start of the turn. Yeah,
And he got to make it so you couldn't block with 3 foundations for the whole turn.
and so
Which is way better than +3 speed for kids at home who are keeping score.
well, it's way different. If they have a girl like any other in play, it's way worse because you can't do anything about the commit ability.
Right.
So what this character has going for her, though, is that she can play kind of a... She plays the 10 cards in play ability very well. And she can also play that ability on her opponent's attacks just to get under 10 if she wants to.
Right.
She can work especially works very well with any kind of resource denial strategy, using cards like Ever Hopeful, Dancing Flash, or Spiders and Dragons to just take away half your opponent's staging area while the other half just doesn't untap. And then try to play a weird tempo game and get them dead before they can get to that point.
Unfortunately, off of 2 of her symbols, I think I'd rather just play Felicia.
Well, she's different than Felicia.
But I'd still,
+1 damage and not having to care about punches, kicks, and slams. That's a benefit.
yeah, but I would run all the same cards you just said in Felicia. And I feel like it's just a little more potent because for free I get +2 speed. And I get to play the air wall game if I want to be on air. And on Chaos and Water, I still get to...
So imagine that there is a world where this character is playable and try to construct what that world looks like. Because if she's bad, then you just don't play her.
I think she's playable. I'm underwhelmed. Her first E's still going to be nice, though, with Felicia's stuff that says after a foundation leaves your staging area. Ready all that up.
I was talking about Tim Keefe. I played Tim Keefe at Worlds, and it was a lot of fun picking out the right time to blow up my Glacial Assault, which also untapped all my Bridging the Wraiths. So I played 4 of both those cards. Because it's a really fun puzzle to try to solve when's the best time to use those abilities.
My only real comment about this character is I want to see the rest of her attacks because she has fire and water, and Hikaru really likes that combination.
Mhm.
For sure.
I'm not willing to say she's bad, but I'm underwhelmed. Let's talk about her foundation.
Which is
Actually, that's
the
not
other
an attack.
attack
You have an
first.
attack first. I forgot.
Reckless Charge. Another 4/3, no block.
No block.
4 mid for 4. Chaos, fire, water, charge, combo, mid attack. For people who still don't know yet, charge is another unloaded keyword like punch, kick, slam, ranged, all of those.
Nobody's played a combustion orb against you yet.
Combo-y, choose one of your opponent's foundations. It does not... It's ranged.
Oh, what's the other one? Never mind. Ignore me.
Combo-y, choose one of your opponent's foundations. It is not ready during the next ready step. So it's more of her effects. You could play... Before we saw her, you could actually... you could get a decent amount of things and not ready if you play Argentine
Rare.
Backbreaker.
And Wasted Rare?
Do you have any of those that haven't been completely destroyed?
They haven't been destroyed. I've just colored on all of them.
They've been enhanced.
Enhanced.
Yeah.
If I actually end up running her at some point, just because she's one of my favorite characters, I might need you to draw on some Wasted Rares for me.
I love drawing on Wasted Rare.
Wasted Rare, by the way, is the card Wasted Talent from Pause Support, which says after you play it, you choose one of your opponent's foundations that doesn't untap next turn.
You can use Argentine Backbreaker, which has another Don't Ready Something effect. And it's a throw. And then you could also put after this, because to keep on going with mids, you could run the other throw, Raiden throw combo. My brain's not working.
Oh,
Raiden Bomber?
No.
Head Crush.
Head Crush. There we go.
Doesn't have to have a mid block.
Yeah,
before
Head
it.
Crush leads into this pretty nicely because you only have to play one copy of this card, then you can access it with Head Crush and get the combo whenever you need it.
That's exciting.
Um,
Now, I gotta say, as far as the icing things go, I played Roy back in the day, who said, F, freeze one of your opponent's things, and then response, draw a million cards.
Yep.
And, I mean, even with support like Wasted Talent, Power of Embraces, Directing an Empire, which is banned, and it still was underwhelming.
It's
It was still
tough to really make
It was still
count,
hard
yeah.
to win. I mean, I could see where for a little bit you can, like, mess your opponent up and slow down their game plan, but I don't see a clear path to victory with this.
Yeah,
support
this
yet.
is definitely it's very tempo oriented kind of game plan where you have to have things go right where like just attacking them is good, where it's valuable for you to get on the board with these kind of mid attacks that can run into things, and then you also have to have the follow up the next turn. So I think it's a little bit of a risky card to play this in your deck because if you just don't draw any attacks next turn, it's like you just put this card in your deck for almost no game.
Hughes just reminded us of a card.
Target acquired. It's a Kula rare foundation from Ruler of Time that says, F, turn this face down, choose one of your opponent's committed foundations with an enhanced ability printed on it. It is not ready during the next ready step. So if like you flub on a turn and you really want to keep their like Ever Hopeful or something committed, you could use this to keep something locked for an additional turn.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about resource denial strategies is that every little bit counts, and if you have I forgot the name of this character already,
Tatsumi.
a Tatsumi deck that just isn't quite getting there, and then you go to a major and you play against a Tatsumi deck that found out that you just have to put target acquired in, and suddenly it hums along much better, you might be really surprised.
The problem is then Argentine Backbreaker doesn't have water.
Hey, you know what does? Dancing Flash.
Yeah, I know.
Which is fantastic, by the way, with target acquired.
Yep.
Because you can add it back to your hand after it's face down.
Yep. Hey,
Actually-
you know, maybe this is actually a thing. Almost, we're trying to make her better on stream.
You know,
It's almost
and
working.
on the topic of returning face downs to your hand, I think the time
Johnson
is
kick?
right to unban K-Dash. Because
No.
we're finally getting the
No.
combo support that isn't overpowered that he really needs. That you deserve to have K-Dash back in your life.
Well, it's a damn shame that the combo support that did make him really broken is legal again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pay to Protect isn't.
Okay, so he doesn't not die as well.
Yeah, he sucks.
Moving on.
He just picks up the best blocks instead of DR.
What blocks?
Fair point. Let's go to a day at the
A
beach.
day at the
Let's talk
beach.
about that. That's much more relaxing.
This is
Especially
a
look at that panda.
3/5 foundation with Chaos, Fire, and Water. This one is a unique foundation. Are your turn commit. After your attack is blocked, choose one of your opponent's foundations. It does not ready during their next ready step.
We're getting there.
We're starting to get the pieces to put this together.
It fortunately involves another 3/5 no block.
No blocks.
Hey, as long as you're winning the Ever Hopeful War, no block doesn't matter.
Until you ice their Ever Hopeful, and then they play one as their first form and bring it down and destroy their committed one.
And
then you just cry because this is going straight to your hand.
Yeah.
I just gotta say, because I meant to say this when we first looked at Tatsumi, I'm really excited to play this character, not because of the competitive nature, like, it's there, like,
You
it's
just
just
want
so
to
fun.
annoy people.
I want to put panda counters on my opponent's staging area. I want to have, like, little pandas, panda figurines that I just put on top of foundations that aren't going to untap.
There's panda tokens in the Battlecon set.
Because that's just marvelous.
There's panda tokens
really
in the
excited
Battlecon
about
set.
that.
I got to do this now.
This art makes me sad.
Why?
I like
so
the
good.
panda.
Like,
It feels
look
very
at-
flat.
Look at it. It's going with your playmat. She's just off to the other side of this playmat art. She's just sitting there going like, who are these nerds over here? Where did this Red Horizon crap? What's that?
Red Horizon's so great. I love Red Horizon.
It's cool.
This,
I just, one of my two favorite characters still don't have their cards yet. I get to play them in a couple weeks though. In Exceed.
Exceed,
I get to play with Heidi and Ulrich.
Heidi, and Ulrich.
That's exciting. I like
Yeah.
Ulrich.
Facts.
He's-
We should talk about that after the show.
Maybe. Next.
Assassination
Oh, good
attempts. Oh god, this card.
Alright,
Okay.
can I read this one? Because I haven't read any.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
So this is a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 5 mid for 4 attack.
No block.
With no block. The
Extended
Air Chaos and Evil symbols. And 4 keywords. So it has Charge, Desperation 4, Slam, and Weapon. And it has an enhanced ability. If your opponent's character is committed, it gets plus 4 damage. But the real meat of this card is the static effect it has, which is while it's in your card pool, when paying costs, you may discard this card instead of 1 momentum.
So what you're telling me is this is like Rain Flush for everything.
I would say this is Piercing Howl, but it doesn't have to hit.
Ooh, Rikuo's gonna like this.
Yes. So, to all the people that have never read that promo Rikuo that you got, my friend Ryan Field showed this to me the day after he saw this card. He has a ability, Response, discard 1 momentum. After you play a ranged attack, it gets plus 4 damage. If the discard momentum was a slam attack, add it to your hand.
This card is a Slam, which you may discard from your card pool to pay for that momentum cost.
Yup.
But it does refer back to momentum. This was never momentum.
Judge. Anyway, this card
The
also pays.
rules!
This card pays for multiple abilities. This card pays for Ever Hopeful. This card pays for Prototype.
Can it
This
just...
card combos and then pays for Gemini Beam.
We
So we are turn 1 stacking, boys.
if we had any legal stackers.
Ash,
If we had any legal good stackers.
Mega Man?
Proto Man.
Does Mega Man have any of those symbols?
Proto Man does.
Rockman does.
Proto Man does.
Gemini Man.
But this is a really, really good card. And it has really awesome art on it. With 2 awesome characters. Haketch on the left and Lord Eustace on the right.
So, Matt, since now this card effectively gives you Rain Flush on these symbols, are you going to continue playing Rain Flush? Or are you going to switch to Air, Chaos, or Evil?
I haven't decided yet. I honestly think this Rikuo strategy, if it actually works, I want to try it. Because to continue with the combo, Zoe has a ranged attack that flips face down after it resolves. So then you play Assassination Attempt again,
Mhm.
and then you use
Cunning and Prideful.
Cunning and Prideful to pick up your face down and just keep going.
Yeah, Cunning and Prideful in this card are definitely fast friends because you also have the play where you use this to pay for the multiple cost of an ability, the cost of a multiple ability. Add this to your card pool face down as the copy of the attack, the way you do with Rain Flush, and then Cunning and Prideful this back to your hand, then play it again and pay for another multiple ability or whatever. Could be really, really powerful either with Dancing Flash on the air symbol or with Ice Slasher or another evil multiple, I don't know, on the evil symbol.
Yeah.
And speaking of the evil symbol and Ice Slasher, this card also has the magic 4 damage for Robot Masters.
Yep.
Just in case you weren't having enough fun yet.
This card's really good.
I like this
I would
one.
call this card Combo Gasmic.
Yeah.
Combo Gasmic.
Like,
Well,
There's so many combos.
easily in my top 5 cards of the set.
Well, before we lose our cool, we better move on to the next card.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to get very sticky over here.
Yeah, we don't want to...
It's game night, folks! Woo!
Game night's on Friday. That's when we play UFS.
Could be any night.
This is a 3/5 foundation with air, earth, and fire. It's a unique foundation. Earth E commit, seal one of your opponent's foundations.
That's it.
It's pretty
That's it.
solid. I mean, it doesn't have a block.
It has extended art space.
Yes.
We're going to call it extended art
Extended,
space.
yeah, there we go. Extended art.
I'm very intrigued with this card on the character Joe, who has the air symbol and gets to untap this and use the ability a lot.
Mhm.
It could be really cool.
My only problem with the card is the eyes on the pink-haired character. They're like,
You
like
wouldn't even
stretch
see
backwards.
the white-haired character if it had a block.
Which white-haired character?
In the upper
Right
right-hand corner, whose face would be...
There's 2! One of them would be like half
Her hair is
visible.
blue! The one underneath him.
yeah, come on. Get with the
Judge.
program.
Get with the program.
Judge.
Judge. I rolled that it's blue.
Damn it.
Now I want more Gerard cards.
Next.
Oh, there's Hikaru. That's why it's a Hikaru card. Okay. Rook takes pawn.
What a waste of a rook.
I really wish this
Rookie.
card. This were taking like a bishop or a knight or a queen or anything but a pawn, so that we could have we could use chess notation and be like RXB to rook takes bishop. But no, we have to get it a space to be taking it
So
on.
it's a 2/4 unique foundation with death, evil, and good. Your turn commit. Destroy one of your opponent's face downs. That's really, really,
It's a
really.
solid ability.
Well,
Dimitri.
Yeah, I want to use that against people who put revokes into their staging area, then bounce them back with powerful assassin.
I want to just slowly eat your board with Dimitri.
And then it has your turn commit. Destroy one of your opponent's unique foundations. Only playable if they have fewer foundations than your opponent. This is going to be fun to use if your opponent puts an Ever Hopeful in their staging area.
While outbuilding the mess out of you, like every air deck does. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm intrigued.
Goodbye, Ever Hopeful.
I really like that this card just puts you up one card. Just you play an attack. You have to play an attack, and then it just puts you up a card as soon as you did that. Because you can use either of the E abilities takes away a card from your opponent's staging area. But it does force you to attack before you get to use it at all. So now you're open to reversals. Now you're open to special blocks. All kinds of bad things. All kinds of interesting and exciting bad things can happen to you. And it's not just like Cataclysmic Force where you just answer things with no commitment.
No,
This has extended art space.
at least it's cool looking. Extended art
Cool
space.
extended art. Now, Kevin Berber, how would you feel if you were playing Athena and your opponent could chip away your face downs all the time? How would that affect your strategy? And judge question, how do we keep track of where the face downs came from? Because I need to know which face down is which.
Well, you already need to do that for the card Conqueror of Night and Day from Dimitri's support, which flipped Destroy face down. And how would I feel about it? I wouldn't care, because they're attacking me. That means I'm going to Team K-Dash and Hanya them. And then they're going to fail their build turn, and then I'm going to kill them.
Fair enough.
Next card. Coffin Nails.
This is a 4/3 attack with a +2 high block,
It's got a block.
4 mid for 5,
I missed that before.
with Chaos, Evil, and Fire. Slam, combo, mid attack. Can't ever be partially blocked. Ever. And combo E, this attack gets +1 damage for each foundation that has been destroyed this enhanced step.
That's a neat flavor text, I want to say. On the can't be partially blocked because it's a mid and Templar exists.
Hey, if you mix people up, and this is like one of the few mid attacks in your deck, you can really get people, and you can also just change the zone.
That is true.
I want to run this in Dr. Wily.
The Wiley Dr. Riley.
I want to run this in general. I think this card's really good.
Yeah.
You have to work a little bit to actually make it land against, because mid attacks suck. Mid attacks are really bad because Ever Hopeful and Templar and all kinds of other awful mid blocks which are awful for you exist. Team K-Dash,
This card.
Annihilation Quake.
This card is fantastic with Schecter.
Schecter loves it.
Mm-hmm.
Mature loves it. It's just a pretty good mid attack. We were talking about the other charge attack a minute ago from Tatsumi support. There's a lot of cards there's cards like Pure Violence Fighting Style that really just want you to play attacks with the combo keyword in your deck, and then this happens to pay you off with a very natural just all mids combo string.
I mean, you can also, this could follow up like a Chasm Buster, could follow up a Flash Lightning,
Yeah, sure.
if you really want to.
What symbols does Remembrance have? That promo we just came out?
I think it chains chaos with this.
Cool.
Cool.
I can blow that up while it's committed to draw me more cards.
Young Mercenary has fire. That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't pass the Robot Masters test, which is kind of sad.
Hey,
You'll have to 8,000 degrees at first.
Yeah, and I really like having high blocks. High blocks are great. And, right now when some of the best decks are playing
What?
Ryujin
Check.
Kyaku and Delta Kick and Rain Flush.
Scorpion.
Oh,
Ooh.
What does
that's
he
kind of
do
cool. Yeah,
again?
harder to block than usual. All right. I'm bored. Decent 4 mid 5 stats just to multiply out if you.
Hughes
you
doesn't
have
remember
to
what Scorpion does in either
He,
design.
he gives your attack multiple 1 under conditions.
Yeah, if this attack is not blocked,
Yep, your next
your
one
next
gets
attack gets
multiple
multiple
one.
one.
I mean, you soften them up with Chasm Buster. That's a great soften them up move.
Yeah. Flashlight is incredible in Scorpion.
Mm.
Because either you get the momentum.
That could have
to
been from a
multiple things
minute
later.
ago, so I wonder if also
It could have been something else.
they could have been talking about. Does he share any symbols with Assassination Attempt?
Evil.
Yeah. Well, does he have evil? I don't remember.
I thought he has. No, he doesn't have evil.
Oh,
I feel like he's Death Void Fire, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah.
Because I know I want to do Rain Flush stuff with him.
next.
Anything else on Coffin Nail?
Oh, we'll see him this. Ooh, we're gonna see him this week.
Uh-oh.
Scorpion.
Scorpidorp.
Scorpidorpidorp.
Dark Fate. 2/5 extended art.
Hey. All right, read the card. Read the card, and then I have a comment on extended art.
Chaos Evil Fire. F. Discard 1 card. Add 1 mid attack from your card pool to your hand. Your combat phase ends.
So this card works with extended art very nicely because if you have a deck that's like half cards with no blocks, this allows you to play to put a Moon Tracer or a Nervos or the Claw thing we just saw and exchange a no block card for that card that has a block. And you have to telegraph to your opponent that you have that. But anything like this, where you can discard a card to replace it with something else, especially if you can choose what you're replacing it with, lets you kind of mitigate the number of it lets you virtually increase the number of blocks in your deck. Or a card like Powerful Assassin, which doesn't have a block, really does have a block, and it's always the block you need as long as you get an enhance step.
Or you could also telegraph if you play a Chaos, Evil, or Fire attack with the reversal keyword.
Yep.
And you can bounce that to your hand and maybe make your opponent think twice about attacking you next turn.
So you mean Navos again?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what you're
That
saying
exactly what he
is
means.
everyone wants 4x Navos when this card comes out.
Which are available at
Are
RochesterCCG.com.
they actually
They are
available?
in stock.
Matt Hughes, are you implying that everyone didn't already want 4x Navos? Because I'm pretty sure that's not true.
I didn't want them until I saw this card.
Well,
I just don't play those symbols is the reason.
Yeah, okay.
I want to play Schecter off of Evil.
Yeah. Evil Shaker is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
No, I'm fairly excited about that. It seems promising.
So this card's really good, even with its extended art.
Next.
We're done.
That's it. We've made it through the spoilers. So now it's time for everyone's favorite segment that I think we've forgotten for like the last month.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do a better job with this. Kevin's Top 5. And this week we have the Top 5 controversial spoilers from Indians.
Controversial subjects, because they're not just cards.
Yeah, I could have picked a single card with no block to single out as no blocks. But number 5, it's Udstat Beam. So this is the card... We talked about most of these cards today, conveniently. And there's been a lot of controversy in the last 2 weeks surrounding these spoilers. So Udstat Beam... You out there?
Yep.
Is that up? Okay,
It's
cool.
up.
So this card had some controversy about how good it is. Is it a 3-speed attack that's going to get blocked every time and doesn't matter how big it got? Is it a 12 damage attack or a 13 damage attack in the best case? It turns out you have to create your character to make it into a 13 damage attack in the best case where you have exactly 10 foundations and it's your first move. But in that case, it punishes people who overextended very well. I guess we talked about this, but you guys have any thoughts on that? Any
No,
thoughts
I
on the controversy?
don't think our opinions...
I think the card's good. And
we'll see how good it is.
I want to see Runica. She's one of my favorite characters to play in BattleCon. I want to play her in this.
And also, I just want to mention this card because we didn't talk about it before,
Mhm.
and I don't think anyone even noticed this,
Mhm.
but this card has 2 very important symbols, which are Order and Air, together, specifically, which allows you to use Sobo Freak, which allows you to put this in your card pool with
Takuma.
with Takuma's support, like Third Successor and Team Art of Fighting.
Yeah, her support's going to be good with Takuma.
And
Someone pointed that out at the start of the show. We're bad. Sorry, chat.
We did watch the chat. Why bother having it if we're going to ignore it, right?
hey, yeah, you have Sober Freak in play. And Third Successor both destroy themselves to pay for costs while they're committed, so now you can get down to 10. And and on that line, with Third Successor and Art of Fighting, this is an Air and Order range attack you can put in your pool to combo your Shield Rams, which you can do right now with Poison Dart. But I think this card's a bit better than Poison Dart on the balance.
All right.
So next up, this is another bit of a category thing. With I put Call the Storm as the number 4 card, but really the controversy was surrounding the Wall Breaker mechanic in general.
I
And
don't have Cold Storm. So.
yeah, we don't have it today. So I came up with this just before the show and didn't tell anyone in advance. So Call the Storm has effectively Stun 8 under certain circumstances, and it's created to break through a stalemated board to make sure the game will actually end on turn 16 or something. If the game is stalled out for a long time, cards like Call the Storm are to come to the rescue and to establish someone is going to win or not. And there's a lot of controversy over whether or not this is good for the game to have these very powerful effects and kind of make it irrelevant, some people felt, what had happened in the earlier stages. That you're just going to be overwhelmed if you play a defensive or wallish kind of deck in the late game by these overpowered abilities.
I mean, my thoughts on it so far is, like I said earlier in the show, I don't plan to change my play style at all. I mean, you guys have seen me play in tournament where I have like 40 foundations in my staging area, and I'm just gonna wave my hands like I just don't care. Come at me. Sure, stun 10, but I still have 10 foundations left.
Yep, and I think that's a really good way to look at it, that if these cards are invented to make you change your playstyle, don't actually play it just out of the fear that you're going to get beaten. Actually make people beat you first before you decide what to do, and once you've seen them in action and get beaten by them.
I mean, we'll need to see the rest of the cards of the set before we give our final answer on how good
Yeah,
Wallbreaker
we've only
is.
seen about a third of the set, roughly. So
So
But-
there's still a lot more to come in the coming weeks of
Yep.
UFS. So, do you have any thoughts, Wallbreaker?
I still haven't decided. I'm with that. I need to see more.
Wait and see. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding back my comments so I could get for that full spoiler review that we plan to do.
Yeah. So once we have all the pieces. All right. Number 3, I just put as no blocks on so many different cards.
Show
Extended
any
art.
card, not Udstad Beam.
Pretty well. Yeah. Then you immediately pick another card.
This card shouldn't have a block. Choose a different one.
block.
A
That
different
has a
one.
block.
There we go. This one shouldn't have a block either.
Keep
Choose a different card. Nope.
That's a
She
character.
has a block.
There we go.
All right. Yeah. This card. This is actually. This is one of the cards that actually got called out as. Devin Bernier called this an actual deck building trap, and I kind of agree with him. It's a mid attack that doesn't have a block, and those are two places where it's very easy to imagine kind of the best case scenario, and then just get ruined all the time because that scenario doesn't come up that often. So by playing cards without blocks, you do open your deck up to just not having the option to play the game, to drawing a hand that neither kills your opponent nor will let you protect yourself from your opponent's attempt to kill you.
Mhm.
And then it's on your opponent to actually, judge what's in your hand and get the read to know that they should execute their kill and knock you out because you have no blocks in your hand.
Well, Hughes, let's talk about your statistics you were running a little earlier about no blocks.
I got some of them. I just going off of what we've seen so far. If we keep on going with the trend of percentage of blocks to no blocks, about 46%, so a little bit under half. Well, 43. Sorry, a little under half of the cards that we've seen so far don't have any block on them. And of the ones that we have seen blocks on them, they're either like +4 mids or a +1 mid. There's not many off zones.
We've
Yeah.
seen some +1 highs.
We've seen- Yeah, like we saw some nice things today with Udstad Beam and whatnot. I started doing the math on this before that. But there's just a lot. Definitely we can see so far that it seems the number of blocks are going down, especially on the really powerful cards. Like I'm not gonna say all these cards should have a block on them because with how insane some of these cards are, they'd just be even stupider. Like if Assassination Attempt had a block, that's
more stupid.
Yeah.
I learned that
More
when
stupid.
I left Rochester. We got that 28% graduation rate. More stupid.
yeah. It's been a long day, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
all-
another thing we'll have to wait to see the full spoil for.
Yeah, and it could just be like it's
It
very
could just be
important-
coincidence still.
and
but-
it's very important to just keep it in mind when you're building your deck of what kind of blocks you want to have, what kind of blocks you need to have to defend yourself, and not to fall into the trap of just looking at cards and saying, I'm always going to draw these in the right order. These are always going to come together perfectly for me, and it's not going to matter they don't have blocks.
Have we seen a single low block?
I don't think so, no.
No, I don't think so.
Who needs low blocks? Like,
I mean-
no one
Snakes.
plays those cards.
Snakes.
Like, when there's so few blocks in the set so far as is, that means, and there's so few low blocks in general, it's just going to get cut out immediately.
I mean, it might just be that not a lot of decks play 20 cards from Indians. Most decks will play 3 or 4. Maybe they'll play a new character and a lot of support with that
Mhm.
character. But maybe the majority won't be decks that are all entirely
Right.
built from Indians. Or if they are, they'll be very focused killing machines that try to get around the drawbacks of some of their cards.
Like, my problem with this trend, if it actually does continue, and if this is a trend in, like, the set after Mega Man, because we've seen those cards have decent amounts of blocks on them. If sets start to rotate and we get less and less blocks, when I did an interview with Ryan Miller and a couple of other people that designed the original idea for UFS, they tested a build of it where there was attack cards, foundation cards, and block cards. And it was awful. The team was absolutely miserable. Like, these block cards just sat there, and you had to hold on to them, and you had to slow down. It just forcibly slowed down the game.
Well, this reminds me of a trend we saw when we got a new designer back with Shadow War and Tower of Souls. Blocks at that time, before that time, were stupidly good. I mean, they had +1.
To us now, we think they're stupidly
Had
good.
like +1 high blocks on 6 control check foundations.
Yeah, we saw some of the best cards in the set. I remember the card Forethought had a +1 mid block on a 1 difficulty spam foundation and one of the most powerful effects in the entire set.
Right.
Yep.
So we saw that it was a complete reverse, where blocking was not good for a little bit. It was hard because all your foundations had +3 blocks. A lot of your attacks didn't have blocks at all. And then I think we've crept back the other way since then with every set. And maybe, it's possible that with Rise of the Masters and Warriors of the Night, maybe we're getting to that point where we had too many blocks and maybe we're just like, because we don't like having to decide between block and non-block cards like we were back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it just might be a cycle.
Yeah. I get the feeling that there's going to be 1 or 2 more Templar-esque cards
I hope
that
not.
we'll see in the set that are different symbols.
Is there Templar-esque, like, overpowering defensive pieces
Like-
that are
like
only
the-
blocks, or like cards like
I mean, like, a card-
the 4 mid block spam that has a special effect when you block with it, but also has another use as a foundation.
Like, kind of in between, like, something that's not as insane as Templar, but it's more or less definitely designed for blocking.
So a card like Winners Never Quit, for example.
Yes.
Winners never quit.
I think that's a fine card. I'd
Yeah.
like seeing more cards like that.
Leaf Shield for the most part is a card you block with.
Or you play
I've killed a lot of
range
people
support.
with Leaf Shield.
yeah, like you can be Matt Hughes and just like feed rain flushes with it. That's pretty great use.
Peaceful Messenger, that's a card that you mostly just block with. I mean, it has another ability, but you really run it for the block effect.
So there's a lot of philosophizing about the value of blocks and not blocks. And let's just move on to the number 2 card, our most controversial for this week, Psychedelic Dream World. So a lot of people saw this card, saw 3 control, no block, 5 difficulty, read the effect, and were just not impressed at all. Said, this card is absolutely terrible, no one should ever play it, it's awful. And then some people said, well, no, maybe you'll play one of this card in your deck, and it's a good one of to help you put together a kill turn sometimes. And then another group still came in and said, this is a tutor. Tutors are insane. You play 1 copy of a card that's good in 1 situation, and find it only as often as you need to. You should play 4 of this card if you're playing it at all. And so for that reason, I think it was very controversial when it got spoiled.
For me, I think I would run like maybe 1 to 2 copies of this as a way to just if I'm playing a long game deck, if I'm still allowed to play a long game deck with all these wall breaking stuff.
You can do whatever you want.
I know.
I believe in you, Matt Hughes.
And just use it to fish out that last 2 check out of my deck to make
Yeah.
sure I don't fail.
The one thing that we should all remember, though, about this card is it's effectively going to take up an attack slot in your deck.
Yes.
It's 5 difficulty and 3 control check, and it's full art. Extended art. So, I mean, in most decks, this is going to have to occupy what would have otherwise been an attack slot.
Well, it's interesting because an attack slot, because attacks and foundations are so different, it's very, we've gotten very used to counting them as just completely separate things. But I think there's 2 very important distinctions between attacks and blocks. And one of them is that attacking usually isn't good unless you have several attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is that attacks don't have a permanent, you can't just, you want to have build turns where you build and attack turns where you attack. And attacks usually have bad control checks and all that kind of stuff. This card is a card you want to play on a build turn, have in your staging area, so that then on an attack turn, then you activate it and go off and get your move.
Right. But I don't know, when I say it's a card that would normally go in attack slot, it reminds me of when the moon comes over in the mountain.
Right.
For a long time, that was an attack slot. You would run 12 attacks plus 4 moons.
Yeah. And so what I'm trying to say is just that one of the dangers of playing too many attacks is that on turn 2, when you don't have a big enough staging area, or when just your opponent is well set up to defend yourself, you get a hand with 5 attack cards, and you just can't do anything. And the danger of playing too few attacks is that in a late game, your deck just doesn't contain enough damage to kill your opponent. You can't find enough attack cards, no matter what you do, because you just don't have a high enough proportion of them. And this doesn't fall into either of those kind of degenerate bad cases.
Yeah, I mean, it's better. I think it's better situated as far as being a 3-check that's not an attack than Moon was, because if you draw just this,
You've
you've
got a build turn.
You've got a build turn. You can play an attack.
And so
You can play Foundations,
Yeah,
rather. It's
finally-
not completely dead.
the number 1 most controversial card is Tatsumi. So this character has received a lot of attention. Ouch.
I
Yeah.
love her, but I love
And
the
there's a lot of
character.
debate over how good she is, how not good she perhaps is, and what to make of her abilities. I think she's exciting in kind of the wrong ways to really be a really competitive character, if I can put it that way. I guess she is a little bit draw dependent. You have to have things go right for you, and just her power level compared to a lot of characters we've seen lately, like Gemini Man, is just not all there.
Mhm.
There's no other way to put that.
Also, quick thing I just want to chime in about. If she has an asset for her panda, Juto, which hopefully she does, I will be collecting all extra copies of that card that people have.
Is that just like a murderous intent?
Yeah, it's going to be my murderous intent.
I mean,
And-
I think the jury's still out on her.
Yeah, I think I think it's easy to dismiss her and say, well, she's worse than Gemini Man, so she's bad. And that's really invalid logic, because she does something different than Gemini Man, for one. And for two, being worse than the best character doesn't put you in the trash heap either.
Well, being worse than an S-class band character
Yeah,
doesn't put you in the trash heap.
Like, I don't think she's bad because she's worse than that. I think she's bad because you're losing one resource for a minute tempo swing.
minute, one whole foundation. I play Sun 2 attacks that are smaller than that, because it's Sun for 1 turn instead of 2.
Well, somebody said something earlier in the chat while we were ignoring it. Said that they wish she had a second ability. She felt because I could see where she kind of feels like half a character,
Mhm.
because in the cycle we were just in, which we talk about how things are
Yeah, it
cylindrical,
goes. Yeah,
is they had 7 hand-sized characters with 2 abilities. Almost every character had 2 abilities recently.
Juto's the other character.
She's
It
got
is.
1. And I think maybe we have like this thought where a character with just 1 ability, that just doesn't seem whelming enough.
I
'Cause
mean,
I still stand that while I'm still not completely decided on her, I feel underwhelmed.
yeah, and again, it's easy to reason by example, and she does have a cost. Is another thing. Like, people have said, well, if she didn't have a cost, she'd be a lot better. And that's always true. But I think this is definitely the most controversial character, most controversial card we've seen. Period. Because on the other hand, you have people who are really excited about her abilities, who like the idea of tapping down foundations, and like the idea of playing with a panda.
Pandas.
you know why she only has 1 ability? Because in the game, that's only half the character. She's Tatsumi and Juto.
Yeah, we might see. I mean, we might be blown away by an insane character-only asset. The way that Kim is kind of underwhelming, but then you play Team Kim, and now he's degenerate.
No, she's your stacker. It's a 3 difficulty Juto that says you
man.
can fuse. That would be awesome!
Yo, I remember Omniel. I loved Omniel. Omniel
Omniel.
is my favorite.
So we are starting to run a little over, so let's move on from Kevin's top 5 to our upcoming events. We mentioned earlier that the Omaha PTC is this weekend, where Kevin will be dethroned as the points leader.
Well, I
Yeah.
hope I won't be. I'm relying on all of the out-of-town folks to knock down these Omaha scrubs, keep me on top. So good luck, Chris Smith, Maryland crew, everyone else that I'm sure is going that I don't know the names of off the top of my head.
Make sure, yes, you want to make sure they keep all of Omaha out of top cuts.
Yep.
That's a tall task. I mean, Miles has been playing Terry Bogarts for like 3 years, so he's got that deck pretty well figured out.
We'll
and
see. We'll
Danielle's
see.
going to be playing, I'm guessing she's going to be playing Felicia.
I would love to see Danielle play Felicia, because I feel like Felicia's been really underrepresented in a lot of events recently. But I think I saw her post, several months ago on social media, that she was going to try something different for this event.
Good for her. So that's coming up this weekend. Good luck to everybody going to that. In a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks from today, is the Rochester 2K in Las Vegas. Now, One thing I did forget to mention earlier for those of you watching at home, there's no diversity at this tournament, at the 2K.
Oh,
You come and you play the best deck.
You play to win, boys.
If the top 8 is 8 Dimitris, it's 8 Dimitris.
Can I play Hikaru?
Remember,
If you come.
it's not legal.
Matthews,
Indians is not gonna
we
be
will make an
legal
exception
at the
for
2K.
you if you show up.
No, you won't.
I promise.
No, you won't.
So please remember that. That means it's going to be a free for all. There's not going to be. I think there's going to be a less jockeying in the top, at the top table because you can't figure on a bunch of people getting diversified like at other tournaments.
Now, do you think we'll see more Kims or more Dimitris or more Athenas?
We could be surprised and see a bunch of Felicias
Ryu.
and Ryu.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I'm really excited to see what everyone shows up with.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty certain there's going to be a ton of Dimitris in the field. I'm sure there's going to be a few Kims. There's going to be just those top tier characters are going to be very well represented. No one's going to have an excuse to sandbag, so we won't get to see the Caden 2 Hoitzel.
There also might be, if people are counting on half the room being Dimitri, someone might show up with a deck that's just like, well,
Please pair me with Dimitri. I'm playing 4-man deck Leaf Shields.
it's like, oh, you're playing Dimitri. Half the room is playing Dimitri. I have 50% win matchup off of my deck alone already. That seems pretty good. Oh, I also have a fair matchup against Felicia. Now I can beat 75% of the room. All right, that seems pretty good.
Yeah, and honestly, though, I don't think it'll be... I think that the UFX community in general, and the format we have right now is really wide open, and people love building their own decks, building new decks, and really owning their own thing. So I don't think it'll be... I don't think it'll be a nightmarish hellscape of everyone playing the same deck. Either.
No, but I think you're going to see... You're not going to see anybody playing Airman because they're worried about getting diversified through Felicia.
I don't think we'll see a lot of Felicias in sideboards for the sake of switching into Felicia. Yeah, if someone shows up playing Jiffany Jamber, they want to play Jiffany Jamber, not Felicia after sideboards.
Garrett does it anyways.
Well, Garrett
He's not playing
Brett
Air.
has said he is not playing Air.
So he can still play Jiffany Jamber
He can.
He
and
played-
switch into Felicia off of Chaos.
You're not wrong.
So,
Hey, not even, the water symbol just doesn't exist. I like it.
so just 1 week after the Las Vegas 2K is the Winnipeg PTC up in the frozen north. Hopefully the snow's all melted at this
Now-
point.
I feel like that's happened before, where the Winnipeg PTC followed up on a Rochester event very closely. Is that just the thing they like to do?
I don't know. Maybe they like to see what happens at our events so they can build good decks for theirs.
Well, hopefully we see some cool decks out of there, because I know Church always builds really great decks.
I wonder if Church is going to dust off his Shinko deck.
I haven't seen a Shinko in a minute.
Now, hopefully, maybe, perhaps, we don't know yet. Maybe Indians may be out legal for that. That's going to be a huge mystery. Because we do know, the only thing we know right now is it's not going to be legal at the 2K, no matter what happens.
Yep, that's confirmed by your hand.
by my hand.
That it's too late to get cards,
Is he
and we're
right?
not going to put people through that.
Ah, it says it right here. Not legal.
So, without a release
Bad.
date, it could potentially be legal for the Winnipeg PTC, or you may be in the same meta for the Winnipeg PTC, and it may be legal for the Rochester PTC, which is June 4th to 5th in Rochester, New York, which I'm hoping all my friends from Maryland show up for the event, and maybe my friends from Georgia come to the event, and my friends from Michigan, and my friends from downstate, and my friends from Las Vegas, and Texas, and Omaha, and
We
Chicago.
get it, Chuck. You have friends. Okay, got it.
They're not friends.
frenemies.
There you go.
So I'm
And-
hoping to see a bunch of people for that. We always put on a good time here in Rochester at our home base.
I feel like it's been a long time since we had a Rochester PTC, but it really
It's been
probably hasn't
almost
been that
exactly a year.
long. Oh yeah. We had the 2K, but that was it for
Yeah.
Okay. You're right.
After that, to round off the month of June, is the Reading PTC, June 25th to 26th at Matrix Card and Game in Reading, California. Now, if Indians is not legal for that 2K, it must have left Jasco headquarters, gotten on a boat, been attacked by Godzilla.
They thought they still had to ship it across,
Well-
so they put it on a boat to China.
So alternatively, it could not be legal for that event because California breaks off from the continental U.S. and drifts off
Just
into the
sails
ocean,
away.
and we can't get a boat to catch up with it in time for the PTC.
So, I'm guessing one of those, during that 3 PTC cycle where they're pretty close together there, one of those I would guess is when Indians is going to become legal.
Yeah. As you said, if it's not legal by the end of that 6-week block, Something
really bad has happened. Well, I did.
War were declared.
Donald Trump is elected president.
Well, no, that doesn't happen until November.
Well, yeah, if he got elected early, though, that'd be catastrophic.
Or maybe Vincent Gray becomes president.
Are we saying that Donald Trump is Vincent Gray?
No,
No,
we're saying that Vincent Gray declares martial law and kills Donald Trump at the podium.
Harsh.
It is Vincent Gray. He's. Have you looked at his body count lately? He could use his power of embraces to punch Donald Trump, punch all of
Alright.
his blood out.
We're done.
to
We're done
kick
with.
him through a tree.
We're done with the joke.
You could ballistic snap kick him.
Hashtag not my president.
Hashtag VinnyG 2016.
I heard Nando's running for Congress.
Fernando Aragon, I may have to move to Georgia just to vote for him.
I would kickstart his campaign.
Speaking of Kickstarter, he's putting a game on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
We
I
should
can't
start
wait
a
to see
super
it.
PAC for Fernando Aragon.
Yeah, I guess that's really. Dang. Super PACs are Kickstarters for politicians
Yeah.
that corporations donate to.
Unfortunately, I don't think.
Welcome
TV
to what Kickstarter came from.
I don't think
Really?
TV stations accept Novoses for airtime for Fernando.
Not your
All right,
station.
we're like 15 minutes over the clock.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week where we, start building up the hype even more for the 2K. We talk about some new spoilers, and we officially launch our Refer a Friend program through RochesterCCG.com. And on that, we'll see you next week.